no, you don't have to take medication for anxiety. By and large, anxiety, for the most part, now not all the times, and I'll get into that in a moment, but for the most part, anxiety is caused by, either interpersonal issues that are unresolved or things inside your own head that need to be resolved, and that kind of, creates new anxiety every day. And by actually growing and working through those issues, you can live a relatively anxiety-free life. Now, we don't have time to go into all of what those would be, but let me give you a few examples. For example, sometimes when people don't feel very grounded in community and they're out there on their own and they're not sharing life with other people, and other people don't know what you're going through and dealing with, even when things are going well, you're an entity unto yourself, and that's a scary way to live. You weren't designed to live that way. If you hook little monkeys who are scared up to a machine that registers their stress hormones, they'll be churning out a lot of stress hormones, and if you just put another monkey in the cage with them, you know what? It goes down. They feel better. Nothing's changed, but their anxiety level goes down because now they're, part of the tribe or group or whatever you call a bunch of monkeys that hang out together. We call them friends, I think, as humans. So you need to do that. You need to be in community. The second thing is sometimes you don't feel like you have control. You don't have good boundaries. And so if you're not assertive enough and you can't say no and this, that, and the other, then you have these fears that other people are going to be controlling you. That's a source of a lot of anxiety for people when they don't have good boundaries. Sometimes there's a lot of perfectionistic tendencies that creates a lot of anxiety. They feel like they can't fail, and what if I don't get it right? And oh my gosh, nobody's going to like me. They think I'm a nerd, and on and on and on. And when you get to where you accept yourself and make mistakes, and right now I'm talking on a video. I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to, get the wrong idea and have to backtrack and, see, there I go right there. If I were, oh my gosh, what if I make a mistake? Then I'd be anxious and, wouldn't be able to get through this. I'd have to take 50 retakes. Perfectionism keeps us from living life. So learn to kind of accept that, a little more about yourself and just kind of be who you are. And then there's anxiety when you're trying to meet other people's expectations, not just your own. And seeking other people's approval and the fear of failure by their standards. Those are all big sources of anxiety. Past trauma that you haven't worked through can be a big part of it. Now, those things I think are best worked out by spiritual and psychological growth. As you begin to grow in your relationship with God and your relationship with other people and working out these dynamics in your life and in your history and what they mean to you, then you know what? You can learn to live in your own skin pretty, rationally and pretty, comfortably. Now, on to the medication thing. There's really a couple of different kinds of medications that affect anxiety. One of them is one that you can take and feel no anxiety. Okay, those are tranquilizers. By and large, we're very careful with tranquilizers. Tranquilizers are never meant to be a solution long-term for anxiety because they're addictive, for one thing, and they don't get at the root of the problem. However, there are some times where somebody is so anxious that they can't deal with life and they can't really get to the root of the problem. I mean, I want to talk to somebody about their issues and resolve those issues, but if they're so anxious they can't talk, sometimes medication can be in the service of doing that hard work. For example, if somebody goes through surgery, you get them medication to go through the surgery, but the surgery is what's going to heal them. So never look at tranquilizers as an answer to life's problems. Those are only taken in very specific kinds of instances under the guidance of a good doctor for the purpose of, having a purpose to get through the issues and to deal with them, not in order that you can avoid the issues. Now, the other place where medication comes into play, I think, and I don't want to say a better way, but in more a real part of the problem and solution way, is that sometimes people have panic attacks and other kinds of anxiety disorders that really kind of have an overlay to a biological process that's akin to the same parts of the brain that cause depression. And there are some medications that actually, really, really affect panic disorder, which is a certain kind of anxiety, that really are in the class of antidepressants. And they're not the kinds that see, I just scratched my nose. I didn't do this perfectly. I should be anxious, but I'm not. So how about that? You can learn to do that as well. But people take these antidepressants not because they're depressed, nor do they make them feel better like a tranquilizer does, but what they do is they restore some brain chemistry or get brain chemistry to a place to where everything works again. So do you have to take medication? Absolutely not. There are some times, under the right circumstances, where one kind of medication may be helpful, and there's another kind of circumstances where another kind of medication, very different, can be helpful as well. The antidepressants, by and large, are not, they don't have the same kind of addictive tolerance building process that tranquilizers do. So you want to find a good doctor, but find a good spiritual growth, psychological growth, good therapist, good counselor, place to work this out as well, because that's where the real pay dirt is.